Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.
What's up, Canuck fans? Welcome to the Nucks Report, a proud presentation of DraftKings Sportsbook, as well as a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, which is this website right here. Go ahead, check it out, thehockeypodcastnetwork.com. The home of hockey podcasts, every team, everywhere. So there's that. Now, this is, of course, the debut episode of the Nucks Report. So for those of you unaware, this is our weekly report video where basically we compile all of the news throughout the week and we talk about it right here on the Nucks Report. So this is just to condense everything, as opposed to doing a video whenever a thing in news comes out or whenever Rick Dollywall puts out a report or something. This is just so we can all condense it together and put it into one big video, or not necessarily big video, but one video combined and condense it that happens suddenly. Now, this week's episode is a bit of a juicy episode. As you guys can see down at the bottom, we have our three main topics. We have, as you can see what is said down there, those are the three main topics for this video. But we do have a couple small tidbits of news that I want to go over and touch on real quick. And we're going to start off by mentioning that at the beginning of the week, we heard that Ty Young has been sent back down to the Kalamazoo Wings in the ECHL after a 0-7 start in the AHL. Not a very good start for Ty Young this season, who had an absolutely fantastic year last season, not just in the ECHL, but in the AHL as well. He was absolutely fantastic, and it's a big reason why he started the season in the AHL. And this year's kind of been the opposite of that. So he was sent back down to Kalamazoo. We also heard that Nikita Tolopilo has been sent back down to Abbotsford just the other day, actually, to make room for the returning Thatcher Demko, who, of course, returned to the lineup against the Buffalo Sabres. He played last night, unfortunately suffered the loss, and actually let in 3 goals on 15 shots, but we already talked enough about that in our Unleashed After Dark postgame show that Gerald and I did, I guess technically early this morning. Also, Jonathan Lekaramaki was sent back down to Abbotsford as well when Niels Holmglander made his return to the lineup. So there's a few of the most recent transactions made by the Vancouver Canucks. Now let's move on to one of our main topics here in the Nucks Report, and that is a report coming out from Michael Russo, who covers the Minnesota Wild. We've obviously talked about him quite a bit during the summer when the Marco Rossi trade talks were really ramped up for the Vancouver Canucks. He had a lot of information when it comes to the Minnesota Wild. So he is, of course, a reporter in Minnesota. And he has revealed that the Vancouver Canucks actually rejected a trade offer from the Minnesota Wild the day of the draft that involved Marco Rossi. Now, everyone remembers that the Canucks initially made an offer to the Wild for Rossi, like earlier in the summer, and the Wild turned it down. There were like rumors that could have been maybe Dakota Joshua, who was the rumored name that they were trying to ship out. We never really did hear who the actual player that the Canucks offered was, I don't think. And Minnesota pretty much turned their nose up to it and were like, no, we're not interested. But then the Minnesota Wild on draft day offered a trade to the Vancouver Canucks. We're offering to trade them Marco Rossi for, and as I mentioned, this one was facilitated by the Wild, not by the Canucks. So you could even say it perhaps may have even been a counter offer to the initial trade by the Canucks. And that was they were offering Marco Rossi for Aatu Räty, the 15th overall pick, which turned out to be Braden Coots, and Artur Silovs. That is what their price tag was for Marco Rossi for the Vancouver Canucks. That is what they offered the Canucks if they wanted Rossi. And, of course, the Canucks said no and rejected the trade offer. And I'm really glad that they did. Now, Räty, 15th overall pick, and Silovs, in my opinion, is an overpay for Marco Rossi. As much as I love Marco Rossi, that is a total overpay. And I would not pay three, things, a draft pick and then two players for one player. And I mean, for starters. But yeah, that to me is just an overpay, in my personal opinion. Obviously, we don't know if that trade had gone through, if the Wild would have actually drafted Coots. But obviously, Canuck fans, myself included, are obviously really happy that they drafted Braden Coots. So there's that. Now, I personally would have been more willing to do the trade if you took out the 15th overall pick from the trade. If you had just done Räty and Silovs for Marco Rossi, I would have at least considered it. Remember, as I mentioned just recently, during the summer, I was very high on Rossi. I really wanted the Canucks to get Marco Rossi because I absolutely love him as a player, and I think he would do really well on this team. But now the real question is, would you have made that trade? Would you have actually traded 15th overall pick, Aatu Räty, and Artur Silovs to the Wild for Marco Rossi? Would you have given that up for Marco Rossi, who, by the way, at the time of this trade offer, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he had signed a contract extension yet with the Minnesota Wild. So you would have done that trade and Rossi would not have been locked up had you made that trade. Because I don't think he actually signed an extension until after the draft. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. This was way back in the summer. But I don't believe if they had done that trade, if they had done that trade, would the Canucks be in a better spot currently? That is a question I will pose to you, the audience, the watchers of this video. That is the question I will pose to you. Do you think the Canucks would be in a better spot currently if they had made that trade, even if it was, not including the 15th overall pick? Would you be satisfied with Rossi as your 2C if the Canucks made that trade? And do you think they would be in a better spot currently than they are now? Now, I mean, currently, Rossi is injured. He is on the IR right now. But prior to his injury, Rossi had 13 points in 17 games, 4 goals and 9 assists. Would you have been satisfied with that production? I mean, we don't know if he would have gotten injured. Like, say, for example, the Canucks do the trade. Rossi is a Vancouver Canuck. They start the season with Marco Rossi as their second-line center. They finally get that second-line center that they've been looking for ever since they traded this guy away. And he had 13 points in 17 games. and let's just say he didn't get injured, Canucks would probably be in a pretty good spot right now. I mean, hindsight is 2020, but he could have done that for the Canucks. Not to mention they would have had their 2C, as I just mentioned, and you wouldn't have to rely on Hedl. And in essence, Hedl's current injury wouldn't hurt the Canucks as much as it is right now, because it really is hurting the Canucks right now. That injury and the fact that he's been out for as long as he has, it's really hurting the Canucks and their depth, especially their center depth right now. Then again, as I said, Rossi himself is currently injured, so perhaps it could be a lot worse if the Canucks did have Marco Rossi. But that is our first main topic. Let's move on to our second main topic, and that is some injury updates. I know it shows the Hughes trade rumors second, like in the middle there, but I'm going to save the Quinn Hughes stuff for the later half of this video, as it's a lot of stuff and it is very, very, very juicy. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the injury updates out of the way. And then after the injury updates, I will do my sponsor read, and then we'll dive into the Quinn Hughes conversation or discussion, whatever you want to call it. Trade speculation, there's a bunch of words for it. But let's get into some injury updates. So injury updates, we heard that Teddy Blueger is expected to be out until after Christmas, which absolutely sucks. We heard from Adam Foote talking about Blueger and his injury. I thought I had the quotes. Actually, let me see if I actually do have the quotes from Adam Foote about Teddy Blueger. I'm just going to quickly look. Oh, yeah, I do. I think, wait, is this it? Let me actually see if this is it. Hang on. Give me 1 sec here, guys. Is this it? Or have we already done this before? Okay, yeah, this is the Teddy Blueger stuff. So Teddy Blueger, who has played just 2 games this season, the last of which came on October 19th in Washington, the very same game that Filipino got injured in, is going to be out a bit longer than expected. Blueger resumed skating in mid-November, but experienced a setback in his recovery from his lower body injury shortly after that. That setback will keep him out until after Christmas, according to Adam Foote. Hopefully just after Christmas, said Foote. He pretty much had to go back to square one with what happened to him a while back there. Really frustrating for him. It was such a quirky movement that he had the first time. I don't think I've ever done it as a player. What he did, we saw it on video. It happened, and whether it's fluky or not, it's too bad because we missed him. So yeah, apparently Teddy Blueger suffered a pretty bad setback. And even like Adam Foote talking about how, like, even just the movement that he did. Again, I haven't actually seen what the actual injury is to Blueger. Is it a lower body? Well, it's obviously a lower body injury, but I don't know if it's a knee or a foot, or no pun intended there, but I don't know exactly what it is. Someone let me know in the comments what exactly have they actually even said what the actual injury is. But it is lower body. But him just talking about it, saying, saying he doesn't think he's ever done it as a player, like this movement that Blueger did that caused him to have a setback with his injury. And just the fact that he talks about how they saw it on video and it happened and he's not sure whether or not it's fluky is really sucks, because, the Canucks could really use Blueger, especially on the penalty kill and just in their center depth as well. But some more injury updates. Filipino is skating. He has yet to practice with the team. He was not at practice. He did skate with PD, I believe it was the other day. And that is obviously a positive that Filipino is skating. So still no timetable on a return for Filipino. Speaking of Elias Pettersson, he of course was ruled out of the game last night against the Sabres. He also missed the game against Detroit. However, he will travel with the team on their upcoming road trip. So hopefully PD will be back for one of those games. Fingers crossed that it is on Sunday that Elias Pettersson will be back. They are still apparently evaluating PD when it comes to his injury and have yet to disclose what the actual injury is. All they've said, of course, is that it's upper body. So that is, of course, positive news that he's traveling with the team on their upcoming road trip. Derek Forbort experienced a setback to an abdominal/groin injury. He has yet to practice with the team. So no real updates on Derek Forbort, who has missed the majority of the season, much like Teddy Bluger has. And of course, we know Thatcher Demko made his return last night to the lineup. So we will ignore that. Obviously, when this injury notes was put up, Thatcher Demko had yet to return at that point. So anyway, I'm going to do my sponsor read, and then we're going to dive into the Quinn Hughes discussion. So allow me to start off by thanking first Gassy Jack Art, the maker of this amazing artwork you see right here. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. Guys, trust me, this is a perfect Christmas gift. I do believe the cutoff for Christmas orders is already passed. But hey, if you are feeling up to it, go ahead and check them out. Order some prints, even if they don't arrive until the new year. Trust me, you guys are not going to regret. These are some amazing prints. I'd also like to thank my secondary sponsor, DraftKings. So let me go ahead and do my sponsor read for DraftKings.
Hey, this is Steve Gorman, radio host, sports commentator, former drummer for the Black Crowes. The winter holidays are here, a time for festive celebrations, family gatherings, and ringing in the new year. Whether it's a holiday party, a night out with friends, or just relaxing by the fire with a few drinks, it's a season full of good cheer. But here's something else to add to your holiday plans, a safe and sober ride home. Just like in sports and music, always have a game plan. And the most important part of any plan is sticking to it. If you plan to drink, take that plan a step further. Call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or have a designated driver lined up before the night begins. Drinking and driving is a decision that can change your life and the lives of others forever. A DUI, a crash, an injury. The consequences are real and lasting. So please, for your sake and for everyone else on the road, make the smart choice. Get a sober ride home. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
The jaw-dropping moments that make hockey, well, hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. New customers, this one's just for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN, to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per wager. Tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which will expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Copyright of the NHL 2025. All rights reserved. All right. Remove that. Let's get into the Quinn Hughes trade rumors and discussion. Now, here's the juicy stuff. So we're going to start off by taking a look at an article, or at least snippets from an article that talk about a potential trade to New Jersey. Obviously, New Jersey has been a team that is well connected to Quinn Hughes and trade talks when it comes to Quinn Hughes because of Quinn's brothers, Jack and Luke. So let's take a look at what a trade to New Jersey would look like for the Vancouver Canucks and what the possible return could be in a trade for Quinn Hughes. Let's take a look at the first one. And of course, the big name who would be a part of the trade, and some disagree with this being a big piece. That is their opinion, but this is what would be the big piece according to this article. And it says any Hughes trade should be focused on quality over quantity, or perhaps quality and quantity. If the Canucks aren't walking away with multiple blue chip pieces, they've done something catastrophically wrong. The Devils do indeed have a couple of interesting names to consider. The first, of course, being Simon Nemec. The 21-year-old right shooting defender was selected second overall in the 2022 NHL entry draft, but has taken a little longer than average to arrive. This 2025-26 season appears to be a bit of a breakout. However, with Nemec already up to 6 goals and 15 points through 29 games, Nemec's overall game is still a work in progress, and his deployment remains relatively sheltered. Still, he's stepped up into a bigger role to cover injuries before, and seems to grow with each new opportunity. Sorry, it was kind of blocked there. Most still believe he has top pairing potential in the long run. Now let's take a look at the second big piece of a potential Quinn Hughes to New Jersey trade. That is Anton Silayev. I probably mispronounced that, but apologies for that. Silayev is considered the Devils' top prospect by a long shot after having been selected 10th overall in the 2024 NHL entry draft. The left side defenseman stands out from the crowd due to his 6'7", 207-pound frame that still might be growing, but that's not his only gift. Silayev is a great skater, and not just for his size, which allows him to provide both puck-carrying abilities and a wide range of defensive coverage. Such an enormous player obviously has a bit of a learning curve ahead of him. Still, Silayev is expected to come over to North America next season to really start that NHL career in earnest. He's a true blue chip prospect and plays at a position that the Canucks will suddenly be in need of should they trade Quinn Hughes. Now let's take a look at the medium. Now these were the big pieces. Let's look at the medium pieces in a Quinn Hughes trade. Let's Wait. Hang on. I think it's this one. Yeah, that is the one. Here, give me 1 second. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. So let's take a look at the medium. First up, we have Seamus Casey. Again, apparently the Canucks aren't particularly interested in right defense prospects, but the Devils' next best future asset is still probably Casey, the 5'10", sub 180-pound defender who has enough skill to still be considered a future NHLer despite that size. Casey is an expert puck handler in every sense of the word, capable of carrying it up the ice, along the blue line, or even deep into the offensive zone when the situation calls for it. He's an offensive defender, to be sure, but is also working on rounding out his defensive game to the best of his abilities down in the AHL right now. The fit is less than ideal for the Canucks, but if they're selling off a multitude of veterans, maybe having some redundancy at every position is a fine idea anyway. Obviously, the 2026 first-round pick would be a part of the equation when it comes to Quinn Hughes. The Canucks aren't interested in draft picks as the primary returns in the veteran trades, but that doesn't mean they will turn them down. With the Devils seeming to overall have fewer interesting pieces to offer, they'll need to supplement somehow, and a first-round pick goes a long way towards that. The Devils have all future first rounds in hand, but the 2026 pick would be especially nice to acquire because it has the potential to end up pretty high. Right now, the Devils are 1 point out of a playoff spot. They are also just 3 points ahead of the bottom 10. Acquiring New Jersey's first without any protective clauses could be smart business with high upside. Let's take a look at the next one. Oh, so this was actually what it was supposed to be. Anyway, medium pieces. Dawson Mercer, who's a name that has been brought up quite a bit when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks and as a potential trade return for Quinn Hughes. Mercer is a player the Canucks have reportedly had their eye on for a while after a starring role at the World Junior Championships. Mercer has had an incredibly uneven arrival in the big league, scoring as many as 56 points as a sophomore and as few as 33 the very next year. The 25-26 season seems to be an upswing for Mercer, as he's now up to 21 points in 29 games. He's a little undersized at 6 foot and about 180 pounds, but Mercer makes up for it with a clever approach to the game and a shifting skating style. All that said, the Canucks would almost certainly be looking at Mercer as a potential center solution, although he's had more success on the wing at the NHL level, including this season, where he's mostly spent time on Nico Hischier's flank. It's hard to know exactly what they'd be getting in Mercer, and that's why he can't be anything more than an additional piece in a trade like this. I want to add on to big piece real quick, and it's my own big piece, and we literally just said his name. That is, of course, Nico Hischier. I do think if the Canucks were to make a trade with New Jersey, you got to at least try and get Hischier as one of the pieces coming back the other way. I know some people could maybe say the Devils would not, be willing to move Nico Hischier, but if they're acquired, and Gerald spoke about this on our post-game show, if the Devils are acquiring Quinn Hughes, everybody except for Jack and Luke are on the table. And that includes Nico Hischier. I know you can basically say Jack Hughes is pretty much injury prone right now because he's at least had 1 or 2 injuries the last several seasons. Right now, obviously, Jack Hughes is currently out, so they're kind of relying on Nico Hischier with Jack Hughes being out. But usually, I would say Hischier is usually a 2C, while Jack Hughes is the first-line center. But I do think everybody will be on the table, including Nico Hischier, and I would absolutely love it if the Canucks were to acquire Nico Hischier, especially if you're trading Quinn Hughes the other way. I would even say Nico Hischier is a bigger trade piece than Simon Nemec. I would much prefer to have Hischier over Nemec, and that's just my own personal opinion. But let's move away from the New Jersey stuff for a second here, because it looks like it's not just New Jersey who is interested in Quinn Hughes. It's not just New Jersey. 2 new teams have now entered the picture when it comes to Quinn Hughes, and that is the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals. They joined the list of Eastern Conference teams that have been in contact with the Canucks regarding Quinn Hughes. Of course, we just talked about the New Jersey Devils. The Detroit Red Wings are interested, and so are the Philadelphia Flyers. Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about the potential trade returns from the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, the Detroit Red Wings have a lot more to give than the New Jersey Devils, especially when it comes to down the middle. They have a lot better prospects that are centers that the Canucks could potentially get in return. Guys like Marco Kasper, Danielson as well. Nate Danielson is another one. There's also Axel Sandin Pellikka as well, whose name has been brought up. But the 2 newest teams to enter the mix are the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. At the time of this writing, the Hurricanes and Capitals sit atop the Metro Division. Standings with the Capitals 18-9-3, 1 point ahead of the Hurricanes, 18-9-2. Have a game in hand.
Hey, this is Steve Gorman, radio host, sports commentator, former drummer for the Black Crowes. The winter holidays are here, a time for festive celebrations, family gatherings, and ringing in the new year. Whether it's a holiday party, a night out with friends, or just relaxing by the fire with a few drinks, it's a season full of good cheer. But here's something else to add to your holiday plans: a safe and sober ride home. Just like in sports and music, always have a game plan. And the most important part of any plan is sticking to it. it. If you plan to drink, take that plan a step further. Call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or have a designated driver lined up before the night begins. Drinking and driving is a decision that can change your life and the lives of others forever. A DUI, a crash, an injury. The consequences are real and lasting. So please, for your sake and for everyone else on the road, make the smart choice. Get a sober ride home. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
I believe this has since changed. So this was, I believe, written, I want to say yesterday or maybe 2 days ago. So that record has since changed, as I believe the Hurricanes won the other night, and I believe the Capitals may have lost. So that may be different now. Just, a heads up on that. But looking at the next piece, the Capitals have two defensemen, Jacob Chychrun and John Carlson, who rank in the top 10 in defensive scoring. Chychrun with 11 goals and 25 points. Obviously, everyone knows Chychrun had that huge run that he went on just a matter of weeks ago. Carlson with 6 goals and 23 points. The Hurricanes have Shane Gostisbehere, who is 1 point shy of Carlson with 22 points, despite playing 6 fewer games. Both teams have plenty of high-end young players, prospects, and draft capital to cover the premium price tag that comes with a Quinn Hughes trade. Hughes, 26, has a respectable 2 goals and 22 points through 25 games this season. He's currently averaging 27.19 minutes of ice time per game, which is the highest in the NHL by 41 seconds per game. The heavy ice time has resulted in a -9 rating for the Orlando, Florida native this season. The left-shot defenseman has been held without a point over his last 6 games, up until last night. That obviously changed with his assist. This matches the longest stretch without a point for Hughes since the end of the 22-23 season, where he was held pointless from April 2nd to April 11th. Canucks head coach Adam Foote shared after practice on Wednesday that the trade noise surrounding Hughes has started to creep into the Canucks locker room. While Hughes seems to be the focus of trade talk in Vancouver, the Canucks also sent a memo to the rest of the league stating that the team has made its veteran players available for trade. Until the trade domino falls, the rumors will continue to swirl around the Vancouver Canucks. Now, that is the new suitors and 2 newest teams that are now in the mix. But literally, as I was getting everything ready to do this video, I happened to pop onto Canucks Army, and I noticed a new article was posted in regards to Quinn Hughes, and it was actually posted a little after midnight by Tyson Cole, and it's got a new update when it comes to Quinn Hughes, and this is pretty alarming. Elliot Friedman had a new report on the 32 Thoughts podcast, and he basically said, for lack of a better term, the Quinn Hughes trade, it's not a matter of if, it's now a matter of when. Like, the trade is going to happen, and it's just a matter of when. So it says here, everything had just been rumors surrounding the Quinn Hughes trade chatter, but Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman's latest article may have proved otherwise. On Thursday night's edition of his written 32 Thoughts, Friedman led it off by sharing everything he believes he knows about the Hughes trade speculation. Friedman had segments that split up when this will happen, who's in it, how much say Hughes has, and some wildcard options. At the end of his "When Will This Happen" segment, he said, "Not impossible, they wait until the draft, preferring no deal than a bad deal, but all of this noise exists for a reason. Talks are underway." So Elliot Friedman is basically saying the Canucks have started trade talks and talks with other teams about Quinn Hughes. I know we just recently, or more recently, when they sent out that memo, they said Hughes was not available. Veterans were up for sale, but that did not include Quinn Hughes. Apparently since then, and according to Elliot Friedman, who is Mr. Source, talks are underway. Canucks are actively talking to teams about Quinn Hughes. That is what Elliot Friedman is basically saying. Talks are underway. Later in the piece, Friedman pointing out that there are always teams out there that we aren't thinking of, but went on to list the New Jersey Devils that we talked about, the Detroit Red Wings, which we touched on, the Washington Capitals, we just mentioned, the New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Carolina Hurricanes, and the Utah Mammoth as potential teams that could be vying for the Canucks captain. Obviously, the Utah Mammoth are a new team that we have heard. I obviously hadn't heard anything about Utah. I actually even hadn't really heard anything about the New York Rangers even. But all the other teams we had heard. I didn't hear about the Pittsburgh Penguins one, but that is no surprise to me considering the connections of Rutherford and Alvin to Pittsburgh. But let's take a look at the next little part. Friedman shared that heading into the season, the Canucks and Hughes' plan to see how the season went and go from there regarding the star defenseman's future in Vancouver. And just 31 games into the season, the Canucks find themselves dead last in the NHL standings, now 3 points behind the Nashville Predators and Calgary Flames. Vancouver struggles to put the puck in the net and to limit the opposition from filling theirs. On the season, the Canucks are averaging the fifth fewest goals for, 2.74, while allowing the most goals against, 3.58 per game in the entire NHL. The NHL roster freeze over the holidays and stretches from December 20th to 27th. While Friedman did not have an answer to when a potential Hughes trade would happen, he confirmed that talks are officially underway. He ended the Hughes portion of his piece with a lot of variables, no doubt which path is really the Canucks' choice. It now appears that a Quinn Hughes trade is a matter of when, not if, following this Friedman article. So there you go. Trade talks, it's underway. So it's now only a matter of when Quinn Hughes gets traded by the Vancouver Canucks. Some people have said, like Gerald, wait till the draft. But it could happen between now and then. And it can happen between now and the draft. So, Canuck fans, buckle up. It's about to get a little bumpy the next few months. So, but this has been the first Nucks Report. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed doing this. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of each topic. What did you guys think about the rejected Marco Rossi trade? What did you guys think of the injury updates? Or do you guys have any concerns when it comes to guys like Derek Forbort, Filipino, Teddy Bluger, Elias Pettersson as well? And what are you guys' thoughts on these trade updates, trade rumors that are now no longer rumors regarding the Canucks captain Quinn Hughes? Where do you think Quinn Hughes is going to land? Do you think he's going to land in New Jersey with his brothers? Do you think he could land in Detroit? Or is there maybe a wild card where maybe it could be like the Rangers or the Flyers or even the Hurricanes or the Washington Capitals? Apparently the Capitals want to win a Stanley Cup before Alex Ovechkin retires, and that is why they are in on Quinn Hughes. They think he can help them get to a Stanley Cup and get Ovi one more Stanley Cup before he retires. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought. And as always, if you guys like this video, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media. The links are all there: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. Also, if you want to continue the discussion on the Canucks, including topics such as the Quinn Hughes stuff, go ahead and join our Discord. There is a link to the Discord in the description down below. It's completely free to join, so go ahead and join the discussion over there on Discord. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us on either platform. It is, of course, greatly appreciated and really helps out the podcast. But this has been the Nucks Report. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for next week's Nucks Report. I can't guarantee that it'll be as juicy as this first ever episode was, but let me know in the comment section down below if you guys enjoyed this. And as always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Campoli missed the puck. Ryan Johnson just gets it out. And Hughes dumped the puck back in. Campoli trying to clear it. Burrow shoots, scores!
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening. Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.